message to the billionaire class: you can't have it all.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Evolution of Now. It's been a grueling 2 weeks, really. Last week we didn't have a show. I had some major computer problems, and right now they're temporarily solved, and we're back on the hog, as it is. We are not joined this week, though, by our good friend Jordan. He just didn't have the stamina this week, I don't think, to go on with the show. But I mean, whatever. These kind of things happen. But I'm joined here this week by Michael Beswick. And
I'm here.
Yeah, you're here, whatever. But we also have Aubrey here as well.
Hello.
And I always forget to mention my own name. I'm Christopher Robinson. Oh, man. And we're all here and happy, and we are here to talk about some headlines of the week. Now, we usually have a main topic every week, but this week we were strapped because of the technical difficulties and everything, and we weren't really able to go and research too deeply on any main topic. So this week, we're just going to be talking about some headlines. And man, do we have some for you today. We got what do you guys want to start out on? Mike, did you have a story? I know you were talking about Alfie Evans.
Oh god.
Earlier.
Okay, yeah. So in the UK, in a hospital in Liverpool, there was, I think it still is, a young boy who is very sick. He has a neurodegenerative condition where his brain is basically liquefying in his head. There's no cure for it, no treatment. And so much like the Charlie Yard case, the doctors said, right, look, there is no way to treat this. He's going to die soon. We want to cut life support. The parents said no. This went to the court, and the court said, okay, cut the life support. This wouldn't be controversial, except several things. So for one, I'm just going to list the guilty parties. One, Italy. The Pope in the Vatican offered to extend palliative care, essentially keep the kid on life support until he dies anyway. And the Italian government the Pope can do whatever he wants, he's private. The Italian government gave the kid Italian citizenship, so he's a dual citizen, which the UK court ruled on the case. The European Court of Human Rights ruled on the case, or at the very least said there was no breach of human rights. The Italian government can fuck off trying to undermine our legal system like that. It's just a complete disregard of of any kind of respect for another country's judicial system.
Yeah, national sovereignty and all that,
Yeah, it's not like a brutal dictatorship somewhere in the world where you're taking someone on asylum. It's a modern Western country with, okay, we've got problems, but with, a normal court system who have made a ruling on the best course of outcome for this case, and they're trying to undermine it. That is fucked up. I'm really hoping Theresa May would bring it up. I doubt she would because she's incompetent, but I really would be grilling the Italian government, like, what the fuck, people, are you trying to do? And I would want to see it brought up properly in, like, the EU or whatever procedures you reckon for telling someone to go fuck themselves. Politely.
Politely go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
Well, that's the lesser of the concerns.
I wonder how many of those same people who were wanting basically for Alfie to end up going to Italy were the same people who were going on about the UK sovereignty and stuff, and that's why they support Brexit.
And this is sort of a breach of sovereignty itself. Like, the court's made a ruling, the international court made a ruling, and now this other country in fuck knows where is trying to just override it. Nah. So that happened, but the Italian government is actually my lesser concern. My biggest problem is the media, who everyone with an agenda has jumped on this story. So you've got the right wing in the UK who want to demolish the NHS, demonise the NHS, or the NHS is killing this young child because they don't want to pay for the cost and stuff. Bear in mind, the NHS has been paying the cost of this sick kid for, his entire life now.
Pretty much.
Already,
Well,
if the NHS could cure it, they would.
without the NHS, I mean, his parents would have gone broke trying to pay for his care in the first place.
And even going as far as to say, like, the doctors are actually trying to kill this kid, not just cut the life support off and end life, but no, actually, they're poisoning him and stuff like this. And of course, the alt med crowd are all over it with heavy metal toxicity and vaccine injury and all this shite.
Yeah.
So the right-wing press started putting out stories like this about how this kid being murdered in a children's hospital where, the doctors treat thousands of kids every year, but who are now child murderers. And then a bunch of protesters gathered outside the children's hospital and tried to storm the hospital. People, like the police, had to form a line in front of the hospital and stop people getting in because it's a children's hospital. What the fuck are these people doing?
I heard reports that they blocked traffic on the roads around the hospital.
They were blocking
an ambulance
from
actually
getting
got in. Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? I don't know words of these people.
Oh, they finally let them in once they realized what was happening.
Oh, great. Nice one.
Yeah.
I've been supportive of every protest I've ever seen. Like, I think if you've got a point to make, go and make it. But this, it's the closest I've ever been to saying just arrest a lot of them fucking bastards.
Wow. Mike is just turning on protesters now.
If you're blocking emergency vehicles, no, you can't do that. You're protesting a fucking children's hospital. And everyone, there's lots of people who say, "Oh, how could the doctor do this?" There's a medical team at the hospital who's brought in medical experts from around the country to consult on the case. There's the family court and there's the parents. Anyone else doesn't have an opinion. And people say, "I'm entitled to my opinion." You're not entitled to your opinion at all. It's a private case. Go away. Just shut up about it.
Yeah, I mean...
No one cares what your opinion is.
Yeah, you can have your opinion, but that has no bearing on the UK's sovereignty in the matter. They've come to their decision, and that is what it is, Like, I don't know. But
it's not just that, though, but the people commenting aren't qualified to make a comment. There's a complex medical issue and ethical issue, and the courts and the parents, or obviously it's the parents' kid, and the doctors there. They're the ones that are actually making the decision. Everyone else is just not qualified to make a comment on this case.
Yeah.
And there's a massive media circus surrounding it. And like I say, it's gone viral in America because Americans are like, "Oh, the NHS. This is why we don't want socialised medicine because what? The parents would have gone bankrupt years ago if it weren't for the NHS. What? You'd rather kids die from lack of healthcare, or? Yeah,
the kid would have eventually ended up being rejected from the hospital because his parents couldn't pay the bills.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Great. But this story has been driving me around the twist, and there's been protests. There was a protest in Manchester, where it was really strange actually because. There's a bridge across the central square in Manchester, the Piccadilly Gardens, and they sort of blocked that bridge off. I just walked through them anyway because I was tired, but I didn't realise we were protesting at first. But I was blocking the bridge off, and everyone just kept walking through it. It's amazing to watch. But they blocked the bridge off, did some chanting for about 5 minutes, and then went the most ineffectual protest ever.
I have some audio, actually, from that protest. Here we go.
I want Britain
to be back British. I saw that going. But yeah, it was the most ineffectual protest ever. He tried to block a bridge off, and people were just like, "Yeah, fuck off."
Yeah.
Yeah. But they recorded it. So there's a recording of me pushing through a crowd of people somewhere probably on the internet. At this protest, and then there's one. Okay, but yeah, that's been driving me absolutely nuts this week, because stupid people have an opinion on stupid things they shouldn't have an opinion on. It's a tragic case. Just everyone else needs to go away.
Some children are just not going to live. That's
children die sometimes. As bad as that is, it does happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everyone in relation to this would prefer the kid not dying. You know, all the doctors, they don't want kids to die. They want to be able to save these kids.
This doctor treats thousands of sick kids a year. It's a children's hospital, a big one in Liverpool.
Yeah. I mean, nobody wants like these kids to nefariously die from these illnesses if they don't have to. But yeah, like sometimes we can't save everyone. You know, no matter how hard we try. I mean, this isn't a TV show drama about doctors and how, like, you know, they can beat on the chest of a dead guy and somehow bring them back to life or something like that. That doesn't really happen in the real
kid's brain
world,
is
you
soup.
know?
And that's basically what the condition does. It turns his brain to soup. You might get this badger, but there's a genetic mutation in his brain which causes his brain to not be able to respire. His brain cells can't produce energy.
Yeah.
So his brain just dies. They don't know what's causing it, but yeah.
Yeah. All cells have respiration, cellular respiration. So, you know, if those cells can't respirate, then they just die. There's nothing you can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And with regards to this case, though, the hospital staff and even some of their patients and everything have been abused, at least verbally, and they've been threatened, and I don't know if they've been physically attacked by anyone.
Protesters did try to storm the hospital. The police I think the police are still there, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was people...
When you get to that point where you're trying to force your way into a children's hospital to attack doctors, then you know you're on the wrong side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were people trying to encourage others to go in and like pull a fire alarm and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, I mean, there were kids like literally on the operating table at that.
Whoever runs the official Facebook page of this protest movement are probably going to be charged, or they should be charged with something, because they were encouraging people like pull fire alarms and all sorts of things.
Yeah, it's inciting, violence, and I guess you can even like read it if you really want as like a terrorist act to like go in there, pull fire alarms to like get people to be all freaking out and like run out of the place and everything, right?
Yeah.
You know, like that's sort of like textbook terrorist shit where you're trying to, you know, terrorize people into
call it terrorism.
doing something.
I'd call it maybe incitement to violence or incitement.
Yeah.
At least incitement to screw with a children's hospital.
I'm just sort of trying to use their terminology, though. These are probably the same people that like say that everything that a Muslim can do is terrorism by textbook definition. But like, you know,
well, and it could literally kill children too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one person I saw a comment where one person was said that, you know, he would. If it were him, you know, he'd go in there with a bomb strapped to his chest, and after they pulled the life support, he'd detonate the bomb.
Yeah.
And take all the doctors and nurses with him. And I'm sitting there going, and all the children who are nearby.
And the kid that you're trying to save with this act, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just like
a hospital full of thousands of sick kids. Yeah, great. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Pull the fire alarm.
So stupid.
Nice one.
Yeah, just
this world, man.
Yeah.
That's been driving me absolutely nuts this week.
Yeah.
They're so focused on that one kid who cannot be saved that they're basically willing to sacrifice thousands of other children who are in that same hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, that's the mind-numbing idiocy of it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But in other news, I want to just throw out a couple stories here. I don't know if we're going to touch on these too much, but North and South Korea are making very big strides towards a potential peace treaty. They've had a long-standing armistice since 1953, after the Korean War had ended. They've never had a peace treaty this entire time, since 1953. And
they're technically still at war.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the armistice is.
Just simply suspends fighting.
Yeah, and they're finally looking into actually signing a peace treaty. And that's actually great news, right? And let's see how that can be tanked by our current administration here. But supposedly the agreement may come in, and it's going to be a 4-party solution. North and South Korea, and China and the U.S. are also going to be in the negotiations for this as well. So that might be something on the horizon in the future. We do eventually have to have an episode just on the North and South Korea peninsula to talk a little bit more about the history there and what the hell is going on.
And Trump's trying to get credit for it, obviously.
I would have much more confidence in this if it was probably literally anybody other than the United States.
If we sent a baked potato, a half-baked potato, I'd have more confidence in the success. Because at least you can eat and feel better.
What about, what if we sent Boris Johnson?
Oh.
See, now it gets
apparently,
a little confusing, right?
Let's not.
What's his name? Pompeo's going to get confirmed as our new, is it Secretary of State?
I believe so.
Yay.
Yeah, I don't think I want Pompeo being the one in that room negotiating.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to go for a peaceful solution.
He was actually secretly, Pompeo was actually secretly sent to Pyongyang, which is the capital of North Korea, recently. He was in secret negotiations with the North.
Well, then again, apparently Pompeo is a fundamentalist Christian who really believes in end times, so he doesn't want the end of the world to be triggered by North Korea because that's supposed to happen in the Middle East. So maybe that'll work in our favor?
Yeah. Maybe. Who knows? I have a thing here. It says the new U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who earlier this month traveled secretly to Pyongyang to meet with Mr. Kim, said his impression was that Mr. Kim was serious about reaching a deal. So, yeah, he did go there, and that all happened. But that's okay. So that's happening in the news. We will keep you posted on that one in the future, obviously, and we'll have a show topic on it eventually. Bill Cosby has been found guilty of sexual assault. This was actually the same exact charges that were in deliberation recently, and there was a hung jury, so there was a mistrial. And this was the next trial, and he was found guilty. And the charges could land him in jail for 15 to 30 years. And so that's happening as well. Good news for women, or they can actually say that they actually are taken seriously in a court of law at this point too. That's what some people are taking from this, at least, which is a good thing.
I don't know. Given everything that we know about Bill Cosby, at this point, I think probably the most difficult part about the trial was finding an impartial jury.
Yeah. This has been going on for a long time. I do believe also, like, previous to this, there were other lawsuits with regards to Mr. Cosby and some of his sexual violence towards women. Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like there was something a while back where he was forced to disclose that he did actually like drug women in the past, and that was a thing.
Yeah, he did it was in a deposition, I think.
Yeah. And so, not really entirely shocking that he would finally be found guilty. Thankfully, there is a spectrum of people in this country that will actually look at these things and realize, yeah, this guy is a piece of crap. But I don't know. But what else is there out there that we wanted to talk about? You had something, right, Tensai? Or Aubrey, as it were?
Yeah. I had that article on the Goldman Sachs with their investment advice to biotech companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of contention here. Sounds like.
Yeah.
We planned to have an argument on this and record it, but we kind of got into an argument before we started the show. So if you want to say what it's about, and
you kind of swung me a little bit, but at the same time, I still think.
I think we reached something of a consensus in the end.
Yeah.
At least more of a consensus.
Are we at maybe like an armistice situation here, maybe?
Sure, why not?
But basically, I had the CNBC article, which the one I found earlier had less information. So this says, Goldman Sachs analysts attempted to address a touchy subject for biotech companies, especially those involved in the pioneering gene therapy treatment. Cures could be bad for business in the long run. Their report actually asked, is curing patients a sustainable business model? The potential to deliver one-shot cures is one of the most attractive aspects of gene therapy, genetically engineered cell therapy, and gene editing. However, such treatments offer a very different outlook with regard to recurring revenue versus chronic therapies. Analyst Salveen Richter wrote in the note to clients Tuesday, while this proposition carries tremendous value for patients and society, it could represent a challenge for genome medicine developers looking for sustained cash flow. He used hepatitis C treatments as his example. Richter cited Gilead Sciences treatments for hepatitis C, which achieved cure rates of more than 90%. The company's U.S. sales for these hepatitis C treatments peaked at $12.5 billion in 2015, but have been falling ever since. Goldman estimates the U.S. sales for these treatments will be less than $4 billion this year, according to a table in the report. GILD is a case in point where the success of its hepatitis C franchise has gradually exhausted the available pool of treatable patients, the analyst wrote. In the case of infectious diseases such as hepatitis C, curing existing patients also decreases the number of carriers able to transmit the virus to new patients. Thus, the incident pool also declines. Where an incident pool remains stable, such as in cancer, the potential for a cure poses less risk to the sustainability of a franchise. They suggest 3 solutions: address large markets, address disorders with high incidence, and constant innovation and portfolio expansion. Which kind of basically, from the way they explain that one, sounds like basically just concentrating on genetic diseases, which are going to be very similar.
It doesn't take much effort to
to
cure a new disease, and you can sell that quickly. Use that to fund the next one.
Yeah, and of course, genetic diseases also fit under solution 2, because no matter the nature of genetic diseases is that no matter how many you cure, you're always going to have the same thing popping up in the next generation because it's genetic.
So it's stuff that you're always going to have people needing it because it'll be like curing the cold. There's so many colds about that. You're always going to need it.
Yeah. Everybody's focusing on essentially the part about, they said curing disease could be bad for business in the long run. And I mean, even as he said, he even outlines that chronic therapies are much more profitable here, which is true, depending on how cheap the cure is versus how cheap the therapy is. To make, that is, as opposed to, lifetime sales of it. But I think this highlights the need for essentially actual government research. Because right now, the CDC and the NHS, they don't actually do any research themselves. They take research money and then they put it towards research projects that that pharmaceutical companies are working on, and research doctors, physicians, and all that are working on. They don't actually do any real research themselves.
Well, I think the NHS does a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I think there might be a little bit that the CDC does, but generally that's, even then, it's outsourced to basically military doctors. The CDC mostly focuses on reacting to emergencies, stockpiling, medicines and stuff in case of emergencies, stuff like that. Vaccinations. They do definitely do a lot of work in vaccinations, but they don't do so basically what this article is saying is that working on a cure for a disease like hepatitis C, which is a communicable disease that is transmitted from person to person. It may have a lot, it had a lot of people who had it in 2015, but then once they actually started treating it and successfully treating it, the incidence of it has dropped to the point where they don't feel it's even worth making the cure anymore because they're not making any money off it. So he's basically recommending either only treating the large markets, he used hemophilia as his example, or basically stuff where there's a lot of them or they're closely related to other diseases, so it's easy to just simply shift the research for a more tailored disease. So that basically means that then they're not going to be researching and eliminating diseases, which there might not be very many of them at the moment, but they still have the potential to basically explode and become an epidemic until after they're already an epidemic.
And it's diseases. I think this is where we sort of agree with each other that the problem isn't that they don't want to cure diseases. It's that they only want to cure the profitable ones. And a lot of people are jumping on they don't want to cure diseases as if that's the story, and it's not really. But the real story here is that we need to fund that not all diseases are profitable to cure. And so the market will not cure diseases that aren't profitable. So we need to fund that ourselves somehow.
Well, and if you think about it, Ebola was not a very common disease. It was one that was barely even on the blimp. It was kind of a big deal in Africa. But, outside Africa, nobody really got it. Nobody really cared. People barely even knew it existed. And then it mutated and it got much more powerful and much more communicable. And all of a sudden, everybody's panicking and searching for a cure immediately because, millions of people are dying, or thousands, or I don't even know how many died, probably millions. And everybody's panicking that it's going to actually transmit out of Africa, which, there were cases that transmitted out of Africa. And basically with the way, our pharmaceutical industries and our research is geared is basic at research is there's no research in a disease until it explodes to a profitable margin.
Yeah, until enough people have it, you can make money off it.
Until enough people have it and are dying from it that they'll actually make a profit from selling a cure. And that's only when they start researching it, which means by the time they actually finish researching it and find a cure, so many people have already died.
Mm-hmm. And the other one would be diseases that not enough people have to cure. So if 1,000 people have a disease, there's no point curing that because you're never going to make your money back after that. So in order to get a cure for something like that, you would have to put government money in. And it's still worth doing it, but no private company is ever going to do it.
Yeah, and that also applies to rare genetic diseases too.
Yeah, for rare illnesses.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the real story here, that we need public funding of research in the diseases that the private sector won't do.
Yeah, the for-profit market just cannot do everything by itself. It'll do
which
what
has
it
always
wants.
been the problem with free market types. They take the free market, which is a tool. I'm a social democrat. I believe the free market can be used as a tool as part of a larger government system. But you don't just rely on it to do everything. It can't do everything. You have to understand how it works and where it fails. And this is one of the cases where it fails.
Yeah.
And when it fails, you bring in public money.
I think largely that's what a lot of us are having problems with when it comes to that statement of them saying, essentially, is curing patients a sustainable business model? What I read from that is, no, it shouldn't be a business model. Curing patients should be like something that we do. It shouldn't have anything to do with, is this good for business at all? It should just be something that we're doing because that's the right thing to do. We should be trying to cure these things. And, it just goes to show you that I'd say this is, the private sector or a private industry here just not being able to do all the work. And so against your point, Michael, in saying that this is showing that, what were you saying earlier? Like that a for-profit, that
the for-profit system actually, although it can't cure everything, can work. Actually, there are for diseases that are profitable to cure, great. The free market will cure them, great.
Yeah, it can work for some things, but then other things get dropped through the cracks. And the market itself, when it's a for-profit market, just will not cure those things, and it will not cover those things because it's just not profitable enough for these companies. And to your points so far, we need to increase public funding. We need more nonprofit in this. We can't rely on for-profit to cure our disease.
Yeah, part of my thing, though, is I don't think that disease should be profitable.
Yeah.
I don't think curing a disease should be profitable for anyone. I think that should just simply be a matter of course.
If I believed that a for-profit healthcare system gave better results, I wouldn't be ideologically opposed to for-profit.
Yeah, I know.
My problem is practical more than ideological here.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
And I really think that there needs to be like an international sort of effort for governments to basically work on, essentially, because right now most pharmacology comes out of the United States. So everybody has the United States.
Were you? You weren't around when we had this conversation, were you?
No.
I was talking to Chris about this exact thing before you came on. Go on.
Okay. So, I mean, part of the problem then is the rest of the world suffers from our for-profit system, even if they don't have a for-profit system themselves.
All the way around, we benefit. You pay you pay massive healthcare costs. Loads of
yes, but you
research.
have to pay whatever they charge you for it.
But we have much better negotiating power because the NHS is a single system.
True.
We have much better negotiating power. It's one of the reasons we get American drugs cheaper than Americans.
Yeah.
But you pay loads of healthcare costs, so loads of money gets into research, loads of new drugs get developed, and we get them cheaper.
Yeah, but that also means that, generally speaking, American pharmaceutical companies are focused on things that Americans have first, like our diseases and chronic illnesses and stuff that we have first, and then consider the rest of the world. And really, they only then consider the rest of the world if it's a large enough market that they think they're going to make a lot of money on something.
Or if it can risk our economy maybe in some way, like maybe an outbreak from Africa coming here to the States or something, I suppose.
Yeah. None of the pharmaceutical
or like Zika
companies
virus
cared at all about the Zika virus or about Ebola until all of a sudden it was on our doorstep.
Yeah.
Or, until there was a massive outbreak, basically an epidemic level outbreak. Then all of a sudden they cared about it. Ebola has been a problem in Africa for like forever, but nobody ever really worked on any kind of cure or treatment for it.
Well, the solution I proposed was the problem is when America drops its healthcare costs, and it eventually does it, you'll move to a public healthcare system, because you will eventually, it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just a matter of when.
Yeah. The amount of R&D money from America is going to drop, and so everyone's going to lose out on new drugs. Of course, that's not a reason for America to not do it.
Yeah.
You need cheaper medication, and it's kind of bad that the whole world extorts American citizens for R&D money, essentially.
Yeah.
What I'd like to see is through something like the UN or the World Health Organization, something like that, an international research fund, so countries around the world contribute to. And
that was kind of what I was thinking of. I wasn't quite. Well, it was something that literally just occurred to me, so I hadn't actually formed like much thought into it. But like sort of like, and then maybe like a conference and stuff, and like have certain research hubs or whatever around the world.
To facilitate coordination between research labs across the world, and funding for research across the world in various diseases.
Yeah, because I mean, like, there's that vaccine for lung cancer that Cuba developed.
Yeah.
Way back in I don't even know when. But Americans couldn't get it until recently, although I'm not even sure we can get it now because of Trump's nonsense.
Yeah.
You guys sound like a bunch of globalist bastards. That's all I'm saying. You know, you damn globalist elitists, you know.
So yeah, now I'm a farmer shell.
Pretty much. I think so. I think Michael has succumbed to the will of Big Pharma, and it's sad.
By the way, guys, ask your doctor.
What?
Ambien, it's a great drug. I don't know.
Ask your doctor if Advograph is right for you. For all my transplant medications.
Yeah, well, my university, when I went to like orientation, one of the first things they said was that they want to teach us to be citizens of the world and, you know, to contribute to the world in a meaningful way.
How effing dare you?
Which is a pretty liberal thing to hear when you first go to a state university in Iowa, right?
So universities are famously liberal, aren't they?
See that? These goddamn liberals.
It's funny
liberal
because
university indoctrination, that's the one.
I don't think that's actually the case at most universities.
No, I don't.
You know, I mean, it's just simply a case of the universities tend to reflect the area they're in. And also, I think there's also the fact that the average person is a bit more liberal than conservatives think they are. So as a result, the universities and schools are going to reflect that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thing
most
with...
people don't stay up at night, worrying about whether or not the neighbors are having gay sex, you know?
Yeah. Thing with, university and college is these are supposed to be institutions for higher learning and higher thought. You know, you bring the best and brightest minds of your community together, and weirdly, they come to similar, more progressive solutions. Maybe, you know, like it's interesting, you know, where people think, well, yeah, maybe we should actually do something for the lower classes and the poor, you know, because maybe giving all the resources to the rich is not a great strategy for a society, you know, overall. You know, what a crazy progressive, thought process that might be. But like, yeah, like we can realize things at a higher level here that like, yeah, these things do sometimes stray or skew towards the liberal or progressive side because that's the correct thing that we should be doing in some cases, you know, like this isn't conservative versus liberal, you know, this is like sort of like almost facts versus, you know, pseudo facts, maybe alternative facts if you even say, you know, like I don't know, like the conservatives want to believe their own reality right now, and anything that goes against that is bad and evil to them, it would seem. I don't know. It's a weird world we have these days. But
well, and it's the thing is, I don't know about like. I mean, I grew up in a conservative household, but I also grew up in a very religious conservative household. And the main thing that they don't really want people to learn is critical thinking, because critical thinking skills makes you then evaluate everything, which includes religion, and the very conservative religion doesn't make any sense. And it's once you look at it through a critical lens, you're just like, wait, I believe this?
Yeah. That's the story. That's the story that's happened a million times with religion. You know, someone starts questioning things, but why is it that this thing happened here? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And the church kind of like gets like,
in universities and higher education teaches critical thinking skills. So that's why it gets demonized. That's why those institutions get demonized. Because they're afraid. And I mean, you hear this all the time that, you know, kids go off to college, they lose their religion. Why do they lose their religion when they go to college? Because not only are they introduced to people who don't necessarily believe and think the same things they do, but also they are taught critical thinking skills. And so for the first time, they don't have, you know, they're able to actually look at things that they've been taught growing up, like from like not just an outside perspective, but also just simply look at it from a more rational standpoint. And
yeah, it's not that we're indoctrinating your kids; it's that your kids learn to think.
Yeah.
No, you guys are wrong. It's totally these demon worshipping atheists and these globalists. That's who it really is.
But,
I mean, let's be honest.
These darn teachers, eh, Chris?
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's. So I mean, there's that, and I mean, like, because that literally just came up to me today, because like I was reading through the Mike Pompeo story about how he believes in the literal rapture, and it was funny because I was watching Secular Talk, Kyle Kalinski's show, and he got a fact wrong about what it is that people believe about the rapture and the second coming of Jesus. And he got the rapture and the second coming confused and thought that they were the same thing, which is part of the reason how I know he didn't grow up in a conservative Christian family. He actually grew up Catholic, and Catholics don't believe the same thing evangelicals do. So I actually sat down and I typed up like this huge long paragraph of what it is that evangelicals believe will happen in the end times and explain the difference between the rapture and the second coming. And then I kind of stopped and I looked at that paragraph and I was like, I used to believe that. Like, I thought that was literally true, and I never questioned it until I was 22 years old.
Yeah. It unfortunately happens. This is why religions work at children. This is why they have like CCD classes and stuff. They want to indoctrinate you early, because that's when your mind is still fresh and inquisitive. Yeah. They want to beat that inquisitive mind out of the children before it's too late.
You tell a kid something as a teacher, they will believe you.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, it's also a case of, like, when you're surrounded by everyone who believes this, well, of course you're going to believe it too, because why would you doubt them? Literally everybody you know believes this is true. It's kind of like, if you grew up in a household that believes in a flat earth, and everyone you knew and everybody you ever interacted with believes in a flat earth, and they just dismiss, the round earth people as, oh, crazy weirdos, they want to believe in, this mythical round earth. That doesn't make any sense, and stuff like that. Well, naturally, you're going to believe in a flat earth, at least until you get old enough to actually investigate for yourself.
It's something I noticed when I did a lesson. I do this type of lesson quite a lot now, but I did this lesson a while ago with my year 8s, so they're 12, and I taught them something wrong, and the logic of the lesson was, I'm going to teach them something wrong, we're going to do an experiment, it's going to become apparent that the thing I've taught them is wrong, and then they're going to be able to say, oh, that thing was wrong, and this is why, and it's in the experiment. It's called a cognitive conflict, and learning to resolve that idea that there's something you know, and there's something you're seeing, and there's something you're seeing is contradicting what you know, so what you know must be wrong. It's a useful skill. It's a good way of teaching it. You have to be really careful, though, of course, because they can go away believing the wrong thing, and that's not productive. But it hit me that when I taught them something wrong, they believed it. I could have said anything, they'd believe it.
I mean, of course. They're impressionable, and, like, you're coming from a position of power to them, you're the...
Well, and it's...
Yeah.
I would add that, you could tell them anything as long as it's not contrary to things they already know.
Yeah, true.
So, I mean...
And to some extent, even then, you say, well, sir, but sir, isn't that? You go, oh, no, that's not true. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, and I think it largely depends on exactly what it is.
Yeah, and who said it.
Yeah, and where they learned it.
I had a kid who told me the moon landing was a hoax once, and
what was a hoax?
Said the moon landing, but Mum said the CIA admitted it. Okay, never mind. And I was showing them a video of the moon landing. The experiment in space where they dropped the hammer and the feather, and the moon landing's a hoax. Well, they're on the moon there.
Well,
yeah, because if it was on Earth, they would fall at different rates just simply because of the Earth system. But yeah.
So how did they get the video then?
But yeah, it's because we learned in school that which this was at a Christian school, by the way, that, the Earth, I mean, we already knew the Earth was round. That's something I think kids just grow up knowing just because they're surrounded by people who also believe it and stuff. And you see pictures like around Earth and everything.
And you have globes in schools and things.
Yeah, and you have globes in schools. But, we learned about the solar system and, how it works, that the Earth is what moves, not the sun, and that we're rotating around the Earth, or the Earth is rotating and then spinning around the sun in a spherical shape. I don't remember the actual word for it. Ellipse, thank you. And all that, which, we didn't even actually learn that, right? Because it's always depicted, like in all the textbooks and stuff, as like a perfect elliptical orbit and stuff, where, the sun is like right in the middle. And that's not actually accurate.
It's a very close circle. Like it's a circle. It's an ellipse, but it's only off by a tiny little bit.
Yeah, and it's
a majority circle.
There's a point where the Earth is actually closer to the sun, and but anyway.
Aphelion and periphelion. Yeah.
Yep. But anyway, so we learned about that in school, and then like in class, and then like that Sunday I went to church in Sunday school, which by the way was at the exact same building because the church actually ran the school. And then in Sunday school,
lovely.
Yeah. My parents wanted consistency. And we learned in Sunday school that the miracle where I think Joshua held his hands up in the air, and as long as he held his hands up, the sun stayed still in the sky, but when he let them fall, then the sun started to move.
Skipped a day, didn't it? Or was it an hour
it was several hours or something like that. But yeah, and that was so that Israel could continue the fight and, win the battle and all that. And I just remember sitting there, and I was like 6 or 7 years old. And I just remember sitting there, and I could not figure out how this could have happened. Because I was sitting there like, okay, so I know the Earth is spinning, and that's what actually creates the days. So does that mean the Earth stopped spinning? But from my experience, when, like sitting in a car, like I didn't know what centrifugal force or anything of that like that was.
Yeah,
I hadn't even been momentum. I hadn't even been introduced to any of those concepts. But I knew that when I'm sitting in a car and mom slams on the brakes, I go flying forward. And that I'm only stopped from like hitting the windshield because of the seatbelt.
But Badger, God magic.
I know, that's, yeah. So I just sat there and I could not figure it out. And I eventually actually forced myself to stop thinking about it because I got scared. But I mean, like going back to it years later, because I was scared by the implications. Going back to it years later, I actually asked mom about it, like how she explained that miracle, because we were taught it literally happened just as described in the Bible. And she was just like, it was a miracle. God did it. And I was just like, you might as well just say it was magic. That doesn't make any sense. Just say it's a miracle, shrug your shoulders, and move on.
By the way, guys,
Pretty much.
I think we've been on a bit of a tangent.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Religion.
yeah, it's fine.
Headlines and several other things.
Yeah, pretty much. This is, I guess, what you kind of expect at this point with the show. I think if you're any bit of a listener with this. But getting back, what were you talking about? Oh my God, I don't even remember.
The Goldman Sachs healthcare thing?
Yeah, something like that. That was the last one.
But about that. And then we went into like global citizen stuff and then school, and then
let's just move on.
Let's just move on.
Moving along.
That topic.
We'll edit that bit.
I don't think I'm getting anything like that, but anyway,
This is way too funny.
a little bit. But anyway, there's a story out of the Daily Kos, and I think also Snopes talked about this story. Apparently, NRA members are destroying their Yeti products. Why, you might ask? Well, the NRA put out a nice little statement here. The NRA, like, I'm going to read from this Daily Kos article right here. It says, the NRA sent out a missive to its members claiming that Yeti was distancing itself from the organization. Their statement here says, suddenly, without prior notice, Yeti has declined to do business with the NRA Foundation, saying they no longer wish to be an NRA vendor and refuse to say why. They will only say they will they will only say they will no longer sell products to the NRA Foundation. That certainly isn't sportsmanlike. In fact, Yeti should be ashamed. They have declined to continue helping America's young people enjoy outdoor recreational activities. These activities enable them to appreciate America and enjoy our natural resources with wholesome and healthy outdoor recreational and educational programs. That was the statement from the NRA.
Wow.
Yes, of course, because in order to enjoy yourself outdoors, you have to have a gun.
Yep.
You can't just take a ball or something. You have to be.
You can't just go camping.
Nope.
So apparently, my family and I were doing it wrong all those years.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you can't. No, you're not bear spray. Good.
Yeah, but
we didn't even take bear spray.
Yeah.
Probably should.
We don't take bear spray either, but we don't really have bears, so.
Yeah. Well, when we went camping in northern Minnesota.
Probably.
There's really nothing in the UK we need to worry about.
It's all been
We've
killed by this
all the
point. Yeah.
predators.
It's terrible. But Yeti has put out a statement, though. There's actually a Facebook page timeline photo here that has the following statement from Yeti. A few weeks ago, Yeti notified the NRA Foundation, as well as a number of other organizations, that we were eliminating a group of outdated discounting programs. When we notified the NRA Foundation and the other organizations of this change, Yeti explained that we were offering them an alternative customization program broadly available to consumers and organizations, including the NRA Foundation. These facts directly contradict the inaccurate statement the NRA ILA distributed on April 20th. I believe that's the statement that I might have said already. They also say, further, the NRA ILA stated in that same public communication that Yeti has declined to continue helping America's young people enjoy outdoor recreational activities. Nothing is further from the truth. Yeti was founded more than 10 years ago with a passion for the outdoors. And over the course of our history, we have actively and enthusiastically supported hunters, anglers, and the broader outdoor community. We have been devoted to and will continue to directly support causes tied to our passion for the outdoors, including by working with many organizations that promote conservation and management of wildlife resources and habitat restoration. From our website to our film footage, and from our social media posts to our ambassadors, Yeti has always prominently featured hunters pursuing their passions. Moreover, Yeti is unwavering in our belief in and commitment to the Constitution of the United States and its Second Amendment.
They do go on with themselves, don't they?
Man, yeah. And what is the very first comment here that I see on this post by this one person? I don't want to put their name out, but they say, I own several expensive Yeti products and planned on purchasing more. However, not now. You just lost my family's business. The Second Amendment is important. Yeti is not. Shame on you.
Boycott's on one thing. If you want to not buy a company's products, I mean,
yeah.
All right, it's not. I can't stop you. But it's the ones who then went and destroyed their Yeti coolers.
Yeah,
they've got your money.
But the
they
thing
already have your money. It's just like the Keurig thing all over again.
Yeah. The thing I'm pointing out, though, with this person's statement is that they're saying that they support the Second Amendment is important. But that's what the Yeti statement just said, too. They just said that, moreover, Yeti is unwavering in our belief in and commitment to the Constitution of the United States and its Second Amendment. So,
not the other amendments, mind. Just that one.
Yeah. Well, we all know that that's the one that conservatives love, and they really don't know or care about the rest of them.
Who cares about freedom of speech and all that? But
freedom to be free from unwarranted search and seizure. Yeah, we threw that out years ago.
Yeah.
But it's amusing, and I really think that Yeti's response should be, after the whole like boycott Yeti thing, be like, well, we weren't actually cutting ties with the NRA, but since we're getting skewered for it anyway, whatever, we're done with the NRA.
I mean, if anything else, this should show to them that the NRA is unhinged in itself. Their statement
the NRA knew damn well that they were actually cutting their ties with them, and yet they still put out that statement saying they were.
Yeah, they were. The NRA's statement is basically provoking their rabid base of idiots that are members of the NRA to like do stupid shit now.
Because the announcement came from the NRA, not from like anyone who just happened to look at the discounts things or whatever.
Yeah. But
most of the people getting mad about it have never even heard of it.
Horror. The NRA are a bunch of idiots.
But
Did I mention, I don't know if it's a couple of weeks ago or not, but there's an NRA convention, and when the NRA convention happens, gun injuries across the US drop by 20%.
Yeah, we talked about that.
You have.
Oh, okay. It's my favorite story of the year. Yeah, it's my favorite story of the year.
It is pretty funny, I will say. But I mean, this is just it's so sad. These NRA members are now taking to these products and destroying coolers and I guess they're cups and shakers and
no, please don't drive up the market for coolers. Whatever will we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's going to be just like the Keurig thing, because they're going to like destroy them, and then like several months later, after all the furors died down, they're like, I miss my cooler. I'm gonna buy another one. It was a really good cooler. I can't find a good.
Keurig actually got a spike in sales as well from that, because people who were against Trump, who were saw that, said, I needed a coffee machine, I'll buy a Keurig. People who were for Trump and broke their Keurig, a couple of weeks later went, I want a coffee.
Yeah.
I went and bought a new coffee machine.
And I'm gonna be honest, I had a Keurig. Thing was a beast to clean, but it was really good and it made really good coffee. I actually kind of miss it, but I think if I were to do so, I get a new one, I would probably pay much more attention to how you clean it this time.
Yeah.
I got a coffee maker. It's called Me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's another thing here that I want to read real quick. It's in this article from Daily Kos. NRA supporters had taken to destroying Yeti coolers in a variety of explosive ways. Some filled the cooler with tannerite explosive rifle targets, and, like Atkinson, shot it and blew it up in a field. Others shot holes through the stainless steel Yeti tumblers in their backyards or their basements. One man crushed a Yeti tumbler in a vise. And so it's just... That's
actually kind of dangerous, shooting something round
stainless
like that,
steel.
because because it could ricochet, and you don't know where that's going to end up.
There's at least one person who's hurt themselves doing it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Probably.
Or someone else.
Had they been at the...
Just like those idiots that shoot in the air. Those bullets come down,
Yeah. Had they been at a NRA convention, this probably wouldn't have happened, is basically what I'm going to say about those injuries. But there's another little tidbit. They have a few last thoughts on the article here, which are a little bit fun. Number one, it is fun to blow things up and crush them, but as a move against Yeti, it seems misplaced. They still have your money, but now you don't have a cooler.
Yeah.
So, number two, taking your business elsewhere is a wonderful ability to have in our consumer economy. That cuts both ways, though. When Dick's Sporting Goods announced they wouldn't sell AR-15 style rifles anymore, anecdotally, I came across just as many people saying they'd start shopping there as those who vowed never to enter again. I expect Yeti to experience something similar. Number 3,
Yeah.
I love... Yep.
I'd never even heard of Yeti. I had no idea what it was. So,
I'm going to have to start buying their products now.
This whole controversy means essentially now that I know they exist.
Yeah. You see that, NRA? Now Yeti is going to get some of my money, and it's your fault. But number 3 here, I loved this part of the NRA statement especially. This person's statement here. Quote, in fact, Yeti should be ashamed that they have declined to continue helping America's young people enjoy outdoor recreational activities, end quote. And back to this person's little thought. Because the NRA is the only way to help people enjoy the outdoor recreation, right? That wouldn't be true even if Yeti had truly severed ties. So
yeah, that was basically
just like what you were saying. Yeah, exactly. Man, it's just
yeah.
People are stupid.
Oh,
yeah, it's really sad.
But they gotta have an AR-15 because if they ever need to rebel against the U.S. government, they will last at least 1 second longer than if they didn't.
There was one tweet I saw which said something along the lines of, why do I need an AR-15? Because if I ever need to put my 6 on a plane to Italy for treatment, then I'm going to need a gun to hijack the plane. And someone made a comment that.
What?
So the reason you want an AR-15 is in case you need to hijack a plane to fly your son to a country with socialized medicine.
That's interesting.
And of course, I think I also saw that and I commented on it, and I was just like, there's no one really tries to hijack a plane with an AR-15 because the whole point is to actually get on the plane in order to hijack it.
Yeah, you can't get on the plane.
They're trying to sneak through security, and conceal their weapons or their bombs or whatever to try to get on the plane.
You can't even get onto a plane with any kind of like knife or anything. They check every damn thing. You can't get a gun onto a plane. Like
fingernail clippers. The ones that have like that little metal file. They break those off.
That's a weapon.
Yeah, they break them off.
A fucking drink.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You can't have more than is it 4 ounces?
Probably.
I think it's 4 liquid ounces. Is the max that you're allowed to take on, and half the time they throw those in the trash anyway.
Yeah, but anyway,
one woman's breast milk that she'd pumped.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. But with that, guys, I think we need to wrap this up. We're right around the hour mark, I think, at this point, and we've talked about a number of stories, and there's going to be more to talk about next week.
You mean you're going to have a show that's under an hour?
I think it's right about an hour right now. Unless you had any other stories to...
No.
No?
No, not really.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for showing up this week. And next week, our main topic is actually going to be austerity. I know we promised you policing this week around, but we didn't get to it.
Yeah, that's my fault.
It's all Mike's fault. He's
I've taken up a lot of extra hours at work, so I just can't put the time in.
He's just
so
not...
I'm going to do that topic another time.
He's just not winning anymore. That should probably be the topic for 2 weeks from now. Will probably be policing, but next week is going to be about austerity. What is it? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And we're going to discuss that. But thank you, everybody, for showing up. You can find us on YouTube these days. We actually have a YouTube channel. I find it hard to find a damn thing myself. I try and find it, but I'll try and figure something out. If you go to our, we have a Discord channel. There will be a link to. If you go to our Discord channel, you can talk to us there, and I can easily give you a link to our channel on YouTube there. We're on iTunes, and you can find us there. We have a Facebook page at The Evolution of Now, if you want to get weekly notifications for the show there. You can always send us your comments and criticisms to us on that Discord or over email if you prefer that at theevolutionofnow@gmail.com. And you can help provide some resources for us to keep doing this show through our Patreon page at patreon.com/theevolutionofnow. And we would greatly appreciate any little bit that you can give us, guys. It goes a long way to helping us do this show. Anything else that we need to mention? I don't have an entry or
Not really.
I don't have an entry for this week's FU list. I'm slacking this week, but I know we're just not winning. But no last comments or anything, guys? Oh man,
I'm tired. My face is tired.
I'm hungry.
It's
I
2 in the
really
morning.
want to eat something. Mike is just low stamina.
My face is tired, and because Mass Effect Andromeda, shout out there, and I want to get back to playing Surviving Mars.
All right. Well, I want to actually go back to playing games too, but
Yeah.
But anyway, guys.
Hey, I don't have any finals next week, so.
I don't have any finals either.
Yeah.
But that's kind of because I don't go to school right now.
You're not in college?
Yeah, I don't go to college right now.
That's
Maybe
all right.
in the future.
I dropped the ball and didn't get myself an internship this summer because I was lazy.
Sad.
So that's my own damn fault.
Pathetic.
Yeah.
Thank you guys, though. We will definitely talk to you next week with some fresh stories right off the presses and our next topic, austerity. You guys have a great week.
Bye.
Have fun.